Hello and welcome to your final Patreon bonus episode here on predictocast. My name is Josh, as you know, and with me on this fine American Thanksgiving Day is Skinner. Hey, Skinner.
I'm working under protest. I don't celebrate this holiday because I'm not American, and it's right in the name. I don't. If there was an American Christmas, I'd be like, fuck that as well.
Well,
American New Year, go to hell.
I didn't want to leave you out, because I think I brought up before that I forgot to say Happy Canadian Thanksgiving to you because I'm a real jerk, and so I wanted to make sure that that I acknowledge that it was American Thanksgiving. If you're listening to this on the day it drops, it is Thanksgiving Day in America. And just to get ahead of it, at least for me, Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving rather as a holiday means I don't obviously give a shit about the whole origins
Pilgrims?
of it. Yes, no, I don't give a shit about any of that. But it's transitioned
Let's talk
for me.
Let's talk about that mouse. Let's talk about that mouse again for a few episodes.
It's transitioned for me into a really. I know it's very cheeky to call it Friendsgiving and all that stuff, but it has turned into that for me. Like I really, over the last couple of years, it really has transitioned into that kind of holiday where I get to be around friends. I mean, I was, things are a little different this year, but I got to be around friends, and you and I spent a Thanksgiving together a couple of years ago, which was a lot of fun. And it has transitioned into something much more enjoyable for me than just eating a lot of food.
I would have been with you this holiday, but something's come up.
Yes, something's come up. So if you missed the announcement that we posted on Patreon last week, we are covering Blood Rage from 1987.
I thought we were covering Blood Feast.
No, it was not Blood Feast. I misspoke and I cut it out of the episode so no one knows.
Cool. So in that episode, Josh said we were going to watch a movie called Blood Feast.
Yes, I did. I misspoke because it makes sense if it's set on Thanksgiving that you would call it Blood Feast, but that's like a 60s horror movie that's not very good. People will tell you that it is, but they're lying. And we're covering 1987's Blood Rage. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry. 1983's Slasher, because this movie was filmed in 1983, had a different title, and then came out 4 years later in May, set on Thanksgiving.
What a weird choice to make it. And also, I believe it came out in most other territories as something entirely different. The Nightmare at Shadow Woods.
Yes, because that's the name of the apartment complex where they live, which that's also kind of a unique thing about this, that it's set at an apartment complex. I don't think I've ever seen that in a horror movie. I'm sure it's happened, but for whatever reason, I cannot in my brain come up with a horror film set at an apartment complex before.
The only thing I can think of that this kind of reminded me of as far as taking place in an apartment complex with the pool and people coming and going from each other's apartments and everything. It kind of reminded me of The Lady in the Water by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yes. Okay. That is a good call.
Which is a fucking hilarious movie.
It absolutely is. So you had never seen this before, right? Clearly.
That's correct.
So I saw this for the first time last year at one of the aforementioned Friendsgiving celebrations. I was in Portland with our good friend Bo North and her husband and Andrew Schwartz and previous guests on our show, but just also our good friends. And we went to a late night screening of this because apparently they do this every year there. They show this every year. And I think that this movie is kind of slowly starting to catch on as like a fun holiday horror film, because there aren't that many Thanksgiving. I don't think there's that many horror films set at Thanksgiving. So this one's kind of starting to move into the pole position, basically, as the one you watch. In fact, our friends over at Kill by Kill, they put out an episode earlier this month talking about this movie with the editor of Fangoria, so they have a little bit more pull than we do. So maybe go listen to that episode after you finish this one.
Maybe, but like, I mean, they're going to cover it so much better. And I think a couple other podcasts and commentary track places are doing stuff on this now.
Yeah.
But like where it is, I mean, it is in a Thanksgiving movie, but like it takes advantage of what I'm shocked more horror movies don't do, which is Thanksgiving. You have knives for carving stuff. And you have
and machetes, apparently.
Well, that just came out of nowhere, but and also like you have a reason for people to gather.
Yes.
And for like tensions to build.
Yes.
And
I'm surprised there's not more horror films set at Christmas time that are not like Santa based, but just like, oh, a bunch of family members get together and there's something happens and then there's a murderer. Like there's a slasher picking off people in this neighborhood at Christmas time. I'm sure that happens, of course.
I'm sure that happens. I mean, in real life too. But like
this year, maybe.
This year, I mean, for the last 4 years, but this year more than ever, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, if people do get together in big amounts, which these people will, like there's gonna be some people who want to kill their uncle this year.
Yeah, that's true. And some of people who might inadvertently kill their uncle this year. Not going to be a good year for uncles. Not a good Christmas for uncles this year. No.
I'm afraid to tell you right now, regardless of what your uncle may think by watching certain social media streams, it's not going to be a good year for your uncle.
I feel like this is, I mean, you said that it's not really Thanksgiving based, but it is because it's the entire movie takes place on Thanksgiving.
Well, the most Thanksgiving thing about it is Louise Lasser as Maddie Simmons, the mom.
Oh God, she is insane in this movie.
She may be insane in real life in some ways, but like
it's possible.
She's just, she's a very talented actress. She is doing a lot with this role, but like the most Thanksgiving thing she does is a scene where she's just eating in front of the fridge on the floor.
That's a very Thanksgiving scene.
It is so amazing. It is so amazing that that's stuck in this movie where she knows she's doing a comedy. And I'm not sure everyone else is at times.
No, this is not a comedy. What are you talking about? This is a terror picture.
It's a fright fest. This is one of the easiest movies I've watched for this fucking show.
Really?
Like as far as just like it, one of the main problems with watching movies that aren't well made and just a lot of movies in general is pacing. Like I often have to watch a lot of this stuff when I'm doing other stuff. That's just kind of
that's just the nature of things.
Nature of like covering enough movies where we can record 9 to 10 episodes a month of things. Rounded up to the nearest 9 or 10. But like this movie doesn't slow down for a moment once it starts. Like once Terry goes crazy, it's over. Like there's no down spots. It's just introduce character, another character gets murdered. Introduce another character, kill the character introduced before in the scene before. Like it is very. There's no point where everyone's just like if there's a scene where someone's trying to figure out what's going on, they aren't doing it for very long before they're dead.
Well, it's fun because there's never. So we talked about it a ton in October when we were talking about all the horror movies we were doing there. That there's never, as far as I can remember in this movie, there's never a reset moment. Like we joked about how like characters would be at each other's throats and then they would reset and then they would like kind of get the plot rolling again. And then there would be something else happens. But it seems like in this, it's just like, here's a character. Now they're dead. Now there's more characters. Now they're also dead. Then we're going to slow down to play some video games and like go fuck in the bedroom. But we're not really, there's no resetting. We're just continuing on. And now, but while they're doing that, other characters are getting killed. So it's not like there's a reset moment.
No, there's no character who finds out what's going on and then goes back to their regular life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's what drives me crazy in a lot of horror movies, especially ones that take place on a boat where you have nowhere else to go, where something crazy happens and then you're like, oh, well, we're at a free moment now. I'm just going to lay down on this couch and listen to some music and chat and make out with somebody. And like, no, you're stuck in a small area with a murderer. Your anxiety is going to go crazy. But in this movie, it's smart because no one who finds out that there's a murderer is chilling out or having sex. Like, everyone who's doing that simply doesn't know what's happening yet.
Yes, exactly. Like, the people who are fucking don't know that other people are being killed.
Like, I hate to say that something smart, like nothing that simple is smart, but like, in comparison to a lot of movies, that's smart. You never sit there and go like, oh, Andrea, or hey, Karen, what are you doing? Don't you know there's a murder out? They don't.
Yeah.
They simply don't know.
They know they know that there is a person who has broken out of a mental institution, and he is he's probably coming to the apartment, and so they're vigilant, but they don't know that he's like going to do anything, and they don't know that he's already there, and they certainly don't know that it's not the guy who's coming from the mental institution, but the guy who's already there, that's the killer. And
to make it so that they're comfortable around the killer's just their friend who snapped.
Yes.
Like, the killer is somebody they've hung out with for years and would not consider a problem. It's
like, weird that like, I don't quite know what sets Terry off.
It's funny because like, I read the Wikipedia on it. And
there's
like,
really nothing, right? Is it just that his mom is getting married? Does he have like a weird Oedipal thing? I think they both must have some weird Oedipal thing with their mom.
Well, they do so much with the mom, but like the Wikipedia says like, after his mom gets engaged to fiance Brad, his long dormant murderous rage is revived. But like, there's no on-screen like music sting or change in his eyes, or like he's all of a sudden.
I will say that he seems very intense when she makes that announcement. He has this look on his face that is like, it feels like he's like turning, but that also doesn't really square with the beginning. So let's go through this and we can kind of talk about it as we go. So the movie opens with a bunch of people at the drive-in. They're all going to see a film called The House That Cried Murder.
Good name.
Rated R. And we see sort of typical drive-in behavior, people getting popcorn, people hanging out, people making out in cars.
Can we talk about Ted Raimi for a second?
We can talk about Ted Raimi for a second. This is his first acting role.
As the condom dealer in the bathroom.
Not a very good one either, because he's got fucking safety pins going through the condoms.
He's got a jean vest on, and he opens it up, and inside are like they're contraband. I don't like 1983, very different world than 2020, but like the idea of these adult-looking ass people.
These are all supposed to be college kids too.
They look like adult ass. I mean, Terry as like the grown-up Terry is balding so badly.
Well, that happens early for some men.
For a lot of men, but I'm just like saying everything about him is middle age.
Oh yes, yeah, they're all much older than they should be. They're like, yeah, we're in college, we're juniors in college. So that would put them at like 20 years old, and some of these people look like they're like 29 or 30.
Andrea and Artie are absolutely not young people. But like, I also love like, so Ted Raimi as his skeezy bathroom condom salesman, which is like just hilarious that he's selling these to adults. But I know the idea that there's people who make out at drive-ins. That's a movie movie trope. It's a movie precious moment, and it does happen in real life. But where is this drive-through that like apparently everyone is making out on the hoods of cars and are butt ass naked in their cars?
Well, the couple that Todd and Terry come upon, that they are just full on nude in their car with the windows down.
That seems like unnecessary. Like maybe you do that, but like you keep most of the clothes on, right?
Yeah. Also, I'm a movie fan, and if I'm watching a movie, I want to watch the movie. If I could just stay home and fuck, like, why do I have to pay to go to the drive-in?
Because apparently making out is almost illegal, and it's like condoms. Apparently, you have to buy like drugs.
Well, but also you have firsthand experience with machines that sold condoms. Those existed in 1983, or I guess technically in 1973 in this movie in bathrooms and stuff, right?
Right. I mean, like, sure, if you haven't listened to older episodes of the show, you would know that I work for a company that counted all the quarters from condom vending machines from bathrooms.
You made novelty theaters. Condoms. It's fine. Don't be modest about it.
There was just so many novelty condoms in that fucking warehouse and aspirin, but it seems so weird. But like, I mean, the story is set up that this Maddie Simmons has brought her boyfriend and they're making out at this, and she's brought her kids too. But like, I would imagine you couldn't bet on, like, we're going to this drive-in theater in the middle of the woods, it looks like, and only teens are going to show up, and everyone will have a gentleman's agreement that we're all going to get fucking naked. Like, they're going out to a drive-in movie theater to make out in a car. It's an entirely different one to make out on the hood of the car outside. I mean, it's not a diving board, but come on.
So we meet Maddie with this guy, and they start making out, and she's a little hesitant because the kids are in the car, but he's like, they've been asleep for 30 minutes. It's fine. So they start making out, and the boys wake up, and they're like, mom's at it again. Which, like, could you not find a babysitter for your kids and just, you could go to the drive-in and you could make out and fuck if you wanted to? Like, I feel like just leave your kids at home or something.
Or besides just laying them out like 2x4s in the back of your, like, side by side on the ground in the back of your station wagon.
Yeah, so this is Todd and Terry, two identical twins, which will be important. And I guess it's kind of a Friday the 13th-esque thing here with, like, these promiscuous people having sex. This kind of sets Terry off. So he gets out of the car, and they're kind of wandering around the drive-in, and he finds
a drive-in movie theater axe.
Yes, he finds an axe in the back of this person's truck, and he takes it, and he goes over to the car where we see these kids having sex inside, and just starts hacking away at the guy.
Yeah.
It feels like at one point too, the woman pushes him into the axe blade.
It does, doesn't it? This is where we get the real sense of what kind of gore level we're going to have in this movie, as we see the blood splattering all over popcorn.
Yes.
And like we see, they do pretty good makeup work here on his face getting hacked up. It's weird in that it's not dark really in this place when they go show them outside, and he's putting the blame on his twin brother that nobody saw. Because
nobody noticed.
I imagine there's somebody going to this drive-in specifically to watch whatever couple got full ass nude.
Yeah, there's probably like some pervert there who's like, people are going here to fuck, so I'm gonna just be peeping, watching people do it.
Like, this is like 1983. This is, pre-internet. Like, there's men who like would do anything to see like the side of an ankle, let alone fucking. Like, if I go here, I will for sure not only get a flick, but I will see a nip. Like, I mean, that's 100% they're going to be there.
Gonna see a flick, gonna see a nip.
Exactly, nip and tuck. Yourself back in after you've masturbated at the movie theater watching somebody have sex.
I could see a horror film, I can jerk at my car, and I can maybe see a naked boob in a car next door. It's a great night.
Great night.
Awesome Friday.
Popcorn. Awesome. Me and condom salesman, we're going to hang out afterwards.
I can get a condom from a guy in the bathroom. I can put it on. I can do the popcorn trick on myself, and I can look next door to me in the car and watch the couple fuck while I watch The House That Cried Murder and jerk off and cry. It's great.
I promise you someone had weekends like that. I promise you.
Absolutely. So he kills this guy, and Todd comes up and is kind of like catatonic at this. He kind of sees this murder happen, and he's sort of just completely freaked out by it. And Terry turns around, puts the hatchet in Todd's hand and smears blood on his face, and then goes, "He did it. It was him."
And that works for 10 full years.
Yeah, it seems like it's weird because then we cut, like we immediately jump forward in a predictocast favorite, 10 years. We get a time jump.
Not aged 1 minute. She still has exactly the same haircut.
And Louise Lasser in this looks like she's in like Shirley Temple cosplay throughout the whole movie.
The whole movie, it's very good. It's very, very good because like she has like when they do her up for the first 10 years, she has like almost little kid twin tails in, like she has big flowery braids in her hair to give to look like almost like she's like, I thought like, oh, they're trying to make her look younger here, even though she's clearly not young. This woman who is the second wife of Woody Allen.
Oh boy. And then they go 10 years in the future and she's costumed exactly the same. And I'm like, oh, this is a character making choices. I'm going to enjoy this. Little did I know. So yeah, it's been 10 years since the murder. And in that time, Todd has been living in a mental institution. And she is going to visit him. It is Thanksgiving Day, I think. Pretty much it's Thanksgiving Day or the day before. And then suddenly, for the only scene in the entire movie, we get voiceover from the doctor, Dr. Berman, who
played by the producer.
Yes, played by the producer. This is Marianne Cantor. She was the producer of the film and had to step in as the actor because I guess the actor that they hired to play Dr. Berman, she just never showed up on the day, so they had to improvise.
And I don't think this scene is in every one of the versions of the movie.
Oh, interesting. Okay, because that is right. That's a good point. This was released in a edited version, so it cuts out some of the gore and some of the scenes are kind of missing or misplaced. And then, had a different, it obviously when it plays, it's listed as Blood Rage on Amazon Prime, but when you play it, it has the title card Slasher on it. And then, of course, as you mentioned, it was Nightmare at Shadow Woods in some releases. So this is one of those that's like all over the place. I don't know if we've ever done a movie that has 3 different titles.
We've come close.
We have come close. We've done a couple of 2-titlers, but yeah, so the entire scene is played with voiceover where Dr. Berman is explaining what is going on. And she says that she's had a breakthrough with Todd in this time and that he believes that Terry was actually the murderer. And is it like, but Maddie doesn't believe it. She's like, thinks that Todd is confused, but it also implied that maybe the doctor had never met Maddie or never seen them together.
That's what it sounded. It was a really hard thing because the way they acted is for the narration is Todd has been catatonic for 10 years and he's finally not catatonic. And like he immediately says, oh, by the way, I didn't kill him. Terry
yes. Okay. You're right. Yeah. She does mention that he's kind of come out of this weird coma and, or catatonia rather, and that he revealed like, oh, I didn't do it.
And I think this upsets Maddie.
Yes.
Because she's kind of like decided like the Terry is the good kid and Todd is the bad kid.
Yes. And she sort of got that fixed in her brain, and that will not change until the end of the movie.
Will not change. So she gives, it's great because like, Todd has great hair. He the way he's carrying himself as Todd, for some reason reminds me of Trey Parker. How Trey holds himself in basketball with his stupid haircut.
I could see that. Like, I'm going to make a very, very niche reference that you might not even get, and that maybe the few Patreon listeners that we have might not even get. But Mark Soper as Todd and Terry looks like a blonde Sufjan Stevens to me, and I cannot get that image out of my brain.
I can see that, honestly. I have to say, and this is
get rid of his machete, give him a banjo. You got it.
And he only killed 2 states.
He's wanted in 2 states for murder and music.
Yeah, and music. The funny part of it is they're going to give both these characters, these twins as adults, different haircuts so we can tell them apart. But their haircuts are so different that it becomes ridiculous that nobody else in the movie notices I know they're twins.
Well,
their hair is so fucking different.
It is different, and they do make Todd look more like pale and kind of sweaty.
He's sweaty. His shoulders are up. He's got this big, like, they make a point of like, hey, Terry has no sleeves. Todd has sleeves. Her mom tells him to go put sleeves on. So when he sees Todd, she thinks it's Terry because he has sleeves on.
I did not catch that, but you're totally right. Like, there is one point where they're both wearing striped shirts, but the stripes are different, like, thicknesses. So it's very clear. Like, I get the idea of, if you saw someone who looked exactly the same, you might be confused. But as you pointed out, these people have been friends with Terry for a while, at least.
And they've seen Terry that day. And like, I was like, well, when you walked away 5 minutes ago and came back with a different shirt on, fine. We were near the apartments. But also with an entirely different haircut.
And behavior.
And the way you talk is different. The way you hold yourself is different. And I know your twin brother is loose.
Yes.
Coming here. Like, I'm aware of this fact, yet I don't think it's you. I still think it's you. I mean, like, I can't stress enough. Their hair is, he would have to go and grow his hair a little bit longer and crimp it in the span of time between when he saw them and when he came back. 2 to 3 minutes.
In the scene with the doctor, there's a great moment where she talks about how, like, or like Maddie says something about bringing him a pumpkin pie, and he
squishes the pie.
His reaction to that, yes, he opens it up, he looks at it, and he just like crushes it in his hand and then just throws it into the wall.
He throws it against the wall like a monkey throwing its shit.
Yes, exactly.
And here's the thing, based on how he acts the rest of the movie, which is he's not crazy. And he just wants to stop his brother.
Yes.
Like, well, he's still kind of crazy at the end, but he's
but like moderate.
Not moderate. He's damaged. He's not dangerous crazy like his brother. Why did he do this?
I don't know. It's a weird thing. Like, he just either doesn't like her pumpkin pie, or he's been wanting to do it for 10 years, but he's been catatonic the entire time.
It's funny because if he just hadn't, everything would have happened the way it happens to a degree if he hadn't broken out. Like, Terry's bloodlust isn't started by finding out Todd is loose.
No, that would have been interesting if that was the thing that did it, because he seems to be very intense before they find out that Todd has escaped.
He's already thinking that he's going to kill Brad. But then he knows he has an excuse that he can blame it on Todd, so he does start killing everybody.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Todd escape. Like, I feel like it's weird that we don't get that.
I was going to ask if I just missed that.
No, because it doesn't happen. Because, like, so we
how does he escape?
Well, I don't know.
Down last time we saw him.
Yes, they all run in and grab him, and then after that, and that
for
scene
throwing
ends,
shit on the wall like a monkey.
And then we cut to Terry, who's playing football with his friends. This takes place in Florida, so it makes sense why they'd be outside in November. And he's kind of chatting with all of his friends. We meet Artie and Let's see, Artie, Greg, Andrea, Karen's there. Julie, is that one of the girls? I can't remember because there's a couple other people there.
So the main one, and it's just one of those like 80 movies. Like I know the 80s loved, hey, let's just have some good old fashioned American names where everyone can remember the names, and all these crazy foreign names and crazy people of color names. But like fucking, I can't remember who anybody's name is. I know Karen, I finally figured out, is kind of
Karen's the main character. She's the final girl.
She's the final girl, but you almost don't even realize it for quite some time.
No.
Julie is the one with the baby.
Oh, is that Julie? Okay.
Yeah. Andrea is babysitting for Julie.
Yes.
You know that they're basically the same age.
Yes.
Artie is the friend-zoned friend. Greg is Andrea's girl. You know, Andrea hits on Terry.
Yes.
And there's also...
And then Beth.
Beth is...
With Artie, right?
With Artie. Beth, yes.
I think.
Or
Artie's with... No, Beth is with Greg, right?
Beth is with... Andrea dies with Greg, does...
Yeah, Andrea and Greg are together. Karen and Artie hang out. And then
Beth?
Is Beth the...
Okay, so... Bill is Donald Trump Jr.
Yeah. Bill is Julie's date, right?
Yes. Who the fuck is Beth? Someone they named in the credits, but isn't actually in the movie.
I don't remember. I can't recall.
There's just a lot of blonde girls.
There's a lot of blonde women and brunette women and dark-haired guys. So it's really hard to remember who everybody. I can remember like this is the lady with the baby and the nerdy date, but I don't remember like what her name is.
Yeah, and like it was weird. Like, oh, they're babysitting for people their own age. Are they supposed to be young? And then they all kind of have a party together. I'm like, okay, maybe they're just babysitting for their friends. And
Beth might be the aunt.
Is Beth the aunt? That's
of
fine.
Karen or one of them, or Andrea, like because they have Thanksgiving together, and there's another older lady there, but I don't remember her name at all. It'd
probably be Brad and Beth.
Or wait, which one's the little girl? Is that Beth?
Oh, the one Todd talks to that's completely unnecessary to the movie?
Yes.
That's got to be it, right?
I think so.
I am sorry you're listening to us look up names on the cast list and try to figure out who it matches to. This is really what the naming of this movie is like. It is, like we said, they introduce a character, they introduce another character, they kill that character they introduced before, and kind of overlap like that, like they're making
it did take.
pie crust.
I will say that in my notes, it took me a while until I figured out who people were. So for a while, I was like, other girl and this guy are doing this thing, and then I was like, oh wait, this is actually Andrea and Greg. I remember now.
Well, the second time Andrea shows up, like I was like, was she the one who was hitting on Terry in the white T-shirt earlier?
I think so.
I figured out it was. And then Greg and Artie kind of show up, and I'm like, who the fuck are these guys? And they just keep going. Like they all of a sudden they have boys who they are friends with, and I'm like, oh, were these no, they weren't introduced before. Well, I'll just go with them. I'll go along with them. They're fodder, and they are. They're just fodder.
Yes, exactly. So they have Thanksgiving, and this is where Maddie announces that she is going to she's going to get married to Brad, who happens to be the manager of the apartment complex.
It's good for rent.
I guess so. I mean, I guess that is true. I wonder how that happened. That feels like there's some that feels like morally kind of in a weird gray area. I think like you shouldn't probably fuck your tenants.
Well, it comes off later that he is kind of, I can't tell they're trying to make him seem skeezy when like he starts to heavily make out with her and she doesn't seem to be into it.
Yeah.
But she's kind of the make out mom. So that's just kind of her role in this movie.
Make out mom.
That's the fourth name of this movie is Make Out Mom.
Maddie, the Makeout Mom. I'm sure if you search that without safe search on, you'll get all kinds of things.
Things that aren't so safe.
So when they announce their marriage, this is when Terry kind of seems like he gets sort of a little dark, but you're right. There's no musical sting that lets you know like, oh, something's broken in him. And he decides, oh, well, that's great. Let's have a toast. And you know immediately that he is a psychopath because he's toasting with a giant glass of milk.
That's the universal symbol of you have a problem. It's just like I am going to celebrate this moment with milk.
Well, it's
and
like nothing against people who like milk, but
yeah, like I don't drink, but at the same time, I wouldn't do that. It's like milk itself, the product milk would say, hey, that's not what we're for. That's kind of weird, dude.
Yeah, they put out one of those milk mustache campaign ads that said, drink milk for all of your special occasions except toasts.
No, like don't do that because that would be really weird. People would judge you and they should judge you.
But yeah, everybody else has champagne or wine or whatever. And he has this tall, like filled to the brim glass of milk.
Maybe that's what drives him crazy.
Maybe. So they get a call. This is when they get a call that Todd has left the institution, has somehow run away. We don't know exactly how that happened, but he got away at some point. And Maddie gets this call, and she calls Terry in. I'm going to keep messing them up. But she calls Terry in, and she's like, we should just pretend this never happened. We should just not let anyone know. We should just have a nice Thanksgiving meal and not go into it and leave it alone. And Terry immediately goes out and goes, my crazy brother left the asylum.
He's very excited. This was like, you'd almost think the way he is about this is that like he should have sprung Todd himself because this gave him finally the excuse to kill everybody.
See,
like,
that would make some sense in some way.
Because he's not. What's really interesting about the choice of Terry is he's not killing a bunch of strangers. Like he has, in his own way, a reason to kill Brad because he's just terrified of anyone marrying or being with or making out with his makeout mom, right?
Yes, exactly. Oh,
everyone else
actually, do you think makeout mom lives at the center of the makeout maze?
That's probably where she made the twins. Makeout Mark, makeout got her. Makeout, so like that at least is like some like mommy issue thing, right?
Yes, for
everyone
sure.
else he kills, besides like Donald Trump Jr., is his friends and his girlfriend for no reason.
Yeah, there's nothing that like sets him off in a weird way. Like obviously they did not give a shit about this, but it would have been interesting to see if they had like a little bit more craft put into the screenplay about like, oh, he's set off by a specific thing and then he does help his brother escape to like be able to put the blame onto him so that he can commit this murder and not get blamed for it.
Instead, Todd escapes off screen and it's never explained. But like, it's funny because like they do an ADR line when Greg dies where they have Terry say, "You're being a bad boy, Greg." Like he's like mad at Greg. He's punishing Greg for having sex on a diving board. But like up until this day, he's been fine with these people. They're his longtime best friends. Yeah, he goes to parties with them. He's dating one of them.
Yeah, well, sort of. It seems like they haven't seen each other since they both went away to college, which makes me think now, are they not juniors? Are they actually freshmen?
It's impossible. It's impossible.
Actually, that would work out because the kids were probably in like were they like 8 or 9, or do you think they were older than that?
They looked 8 or 9, so that would make them 18, 19.
Yeah.
But like 10 years should have been.
These are all freshmen.
14 to 24. It's impossible. How old was... I don't know when Mark Sauper's birthday is. How old he's supposed to be So he was born in 1959.
Okay.
So he was about 24.
Uh-huh.
And he's playing a freshman.
Well, he got a late start.
He got a late. His hairline did.
Oh.
But like, yeah, it's so interesting. Like he kills a few strangers very brutally, but then he just starts killing his friends and just for a lark.
Well, I think that's the titular blood rage. It's that once it's started, it's hard for him to stop because he realizes he likes it. But I don't know what made him stop for 10 years.
He's also never angry doing it. He's having a great time.
Yes, he is. So right after they reveal that Todd has run away from the asylum, we get a knock at the door, and he goes to answer the door, and there's a guy there who looks like a Walmart greeter in his blue vest. And he has a gun that he shoves in Terry's face, and he's like, I got him. And the doctor walks out and goes, that's not him, that's the brother.
Can't you tell they have different haircuts?
And with that's also pretty bad that she brought a guy with him who doesn't actually know what the guy looks like that they're after.
Or he does, but he knows he's going to the house where his twin lives.
Yes.
Put the gun to. That's pretty important background information.
Yeah. So this is again Dr. Berman and Jackie, one of her assistants, and they meet with Bill, who said, or not Bill, sorry, Brad. This is just going to keep happening. Who is the apartment manager, and he's like, well, I'll help you out, and I'll show you kind of where he might be. And so they kind of go off, and he's like, well, there's some big woods out there where you could go and look there, and then you could kind of wander around the complex and see. We don't have any guards or anything because we don't need them. So they kind of set off and go off into the woods. So Dr. Berman heads off into the woods, and then she sends Jackie to wander around the complex and see if he sees any sign of Todd. And during this moment, this is when Brad goes to his office, and he sits down, and he calls Maddie, and he tells her that they're looking for him and everything will be okay. And then while he's on the phone, Terry decides, well, it's time to get rid of Brad because he's the guy that I really want to kill. And then he does it. He goes in with a machete. I don't know where he got the machete.
He has a giant Jason Voorhees machete the rest of the movie.
Yes. And then he just hacks fucking Brad's hand off.
It's great because
he's holding the can of Old Style, which I don't know how they got that in fucking Florida, but
back in Florida, the can of Old Style, and then the hand falls to the ground, still holding the beer, and it's twitching. And he's got the little spray hose on it where his arm should be, and he's spraying blood everywhere, going and his hand's still twitching. And the movie is off and running the rest of the time. This is it.
But this should be like he did what he wanted to do. He killed the guy
who was going to, in theory, if he was. Because he didn't go on a huge murder spree last time as a kid. But in theory, he should have killed Brad, blamed Todd, and moved on.
Yeah.
He just decides to kill all his friends who he's playing short football with not too long ago.
Yeah, exactly. He's just like, all right, well, this is fun. So now I'm going to keep doing it.
And I know his cut off sleeve shirt thing is iconic because him in this outfit is drawn as a picture for the cover of this magazine of this movie.
Yeah,
it's a terrible poster. I love it. Man, can we talk about his Thanksgiving outfit?
Oh my God! Thank you for reminding me. I would have forgotten that weird shirt and that red tie that's just sort of loosely draped around his neck.
It's like a denim dress shirt, dark brown, dark blue gray. It's popped collar and then a red pencil thin necktie just hanging loose. And all I could think of was he's got to wear this the entire movie. what an iconic outfit this would be. And it's just this scene. It's like someone told him to dress up, and he decided to be the biggest asshole in the world about it. But this twitching thing with the fingers on the beer can, they do this a couple times. I wish they did it every time.
Yeah, well, so it's like this scene happens, and then we jump to Jackie, who stops to smoke a joint, and Terry comes upon him, and he says, he's like, "Oh, you're the brother. Well, Dr. Berman said that Todd actually said he didn't kill anybody." And then Terry goes, "Yes, he did," as he slides the blade through Jackie's midsection.
Yep. And he just kind of holds it. You see it on the other side, twisting around. And then he's on his merge break. Next we see Mom on the floor eating on the floor in front of the kitchen fridge, which is more shocking than the machete through the blue vest, honestly.
Yeah. Then we see Maddie sitting on the floor eating out of the refrigerator, eating leftover Thanksgiving, which is just it's a mood, I think, for 2020. I mean, I may do this like the entire 4-day weekend. I think we need to post the photo of this too on our Twitter and just hashtag mood. But so while she's doing that, we cut to Dr. Berman in the woods, who's looking for Todd, but Terry finds her and he cuts her in half.
So this is where you don't have an actor acting, and she just sees him coming from a distance and opens her mouth wide and screams and doesn't move. And apparently off camera cuts her into 2 pieces.
But she had the gun. She had the tranquilizer gun.
He cut her clean in half. And then that doesn't kill her right away, because you get to see her top half screaming and holding her neck for some reason, like her neck is what's sore, while her legs twitch and kick on the other side. It feels like she would be really dead.
No, she would absolutely be dead, but it's a very good, funny visual.
Like, this character who is the only one who knows what really kind of happened is cut in half and is super dead early in the movie.
Yes, exactly. And my favorite part is, I'll jump ahead slightly, is that when Todd finds her, he tries to put her back together.
That is awesome. It is fantastic. Like, imagine if Michael Myers wasn't actually the bad guy, and Dr. Loomis was trying to find him and prove his innocence, and the real killer cut him in half in the first movie in the first 20 minutes.
That is basically what this is.
This is a character who should come to get to near the end of the movie to explain to another character that what's happening.
Yes.
And maybe die then.
Yes. And then she gets
dies
killed.
in the wood.
Yeah. She gets killed without ever really interacting with anybody except for Brad, who's already dead.
And she's cut in half with her legs wiggling while she screams.
We cut to we cut to him taking Terry taking a shower while Mom cleans the oven. Yes. She does a lot of cleaning at this point in the movie, because she does tell Brad that earlier. We kind of jumped over that where she's upset and Brad is trying to force himself on her and she's not really feeling it. And she's like, well, maybe I'll just clean the apartment because that makes me feel better. And so she spends basically the back half of the movie cleaning the apartment.
She's cleaning and drinking and wine dialing, and she's having her own movie off to the side.
She is. She has that long conversation with the operator at one point.
Yes. It almost became too much of the movie Telephone for me for a little bit, so I got a little nervous.
I like that when Terry is showering off all the blood, you can clearly see, because this is a poorly made movie, that he's still wearing underwear. That you can spot.
Strange they didn't make the women who are in the shower, let them still wear underwear. For
definitely not. And Todd, he makes it back to the apartment. Finally, we've kind of seen some shots of him sort of wandering around the city and things like that. And finally, he makes it back to the apartment complex. And then Terry goes over to, I think this is Andrea, right? Probably. and he is hanging out with her, and she wants to have sex with him, despite the fact that he's dating Karen and that she's potentially dating Greg.
And she's also appears to be friends with Karen as well.
But he's sort of disinterested in this. And I think that's part of his psychosis, is that like he is enraged by sex, which is very Friday the 13th kind of, but like
yeah, I think it's what we're supposed to assume, because he did kill, people having sex, but like also he just kills everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't totally matter. Like, this is when we get one of the mistaken identity moments, though, because Karen goes to Terry's place looking for him, but no one's answering. And so she goes around the back to try to knock on the back sliding glass door, but she doesn't see anyone. And this is when Todd comes out, and she thinks that it's Terry. This is a guy who she is supposedly dated, would know pretty well, and thinks that his brother with his pale skin and flop sweat hair is her boyfriend.
And he basically tells her he's Todd right away.
Yes.
And then she does this great blow off. She's like, she basically says, "I gotta go, bye."
Well,
and runs
okay,
away.
no. First, we have to say what she says. So she thinks that it's Terry, and she's like, I haven't really seen you much, and things are a little weird, but I want you to make love to me. And he's like, "Well, I'm Todd. Also, I've never kissed a girl before." And she's like, "Well, okay, gotta go."
Yes. And like she will later make, like, when talking about him and how weird he is and how crazy his eyes are. And she's like, he said he never kissed a girl. And like, if you know Terry, like everyone's aware that Terry is a twin and has a twin brother in a mental institution. They're not shocked by this. This is common knowledge. And they would know he's been in there since he was a young child. So when would have he had the chance to kiss a girl? Why is she so judgy about it?
I don't know. I mean, obviously this is a film that does not seem to care too much about mental illness. Two of the best scenes. Two of the best scenes in the movie that aren't murder scenes come next. Is when she goes to her friends to tell them what happened, that she came across Todd, not Terry, and how scary he was and how scary his eyes were. And she goes, "I almost peed my pants." And then the guy next to her tries to make out with her after she says that. Yes. So and
then the small couch.
Oh yes. Okay. So Andrea, I think this is Andrea, is still trying to have sex with Terry, but he's not really into it. And then Julie, and is it Bill is the loser guy? I think Bill's the loser guy.
Bill's the loser guy.
Yes.
He's the quote unquote rich guy.
Yes. So they show back up, and they they're gonna send the babysitter away, and she's like, "All right, well, $10." And they make a huge deal out of this. And we've talked recently about like inflation and things like that. Can you tell me how much $10 would be in 2020 money?
Okay, let me see here. 2020 money from we're going 1983, right?
Yeah, we'll do 1983.
Okay, let me see. 1983 inflation calculator. I know that when I was young, that a bag of potato chips for a regular size one would have been 25 cents.
Oh boy, okay.
So times have changed. But from 1983 till now, she is asking for the whopping total of $26.13.
Okay.
Which honestly, not a lot.
No, I mean, it's really not a lot for someone who watched your fairly newborn child, it seems like.
Yeah, well, like, I know she's, hey, Julie. She's a single mom. It's $10 maybe is a lot to her. until she can, just really nail down Bill and get that rich daddy she wants for the baby.
Yes.
Whose name is Baby. But it isn't a lot to ask of somebody to pay them $26 to watch your newborn infant for a few hours.
Yeah, it's kind of wild, but I think Bill ends up paying this amount. And they leave, and this is when they kind of tell they all kind of encounter Terry, and they're like, "Oh, hey, we saw your brother. He's here." So he runs off, and this is when Todd finds the body of Dr. B, and he tries to put her back together, but he also takes her gun. And he comes upon this little girl who is looking for her cat, and he tells her to go inside, and she does.
I think the reason this is in the movie is to tell us Todd is a good person.
Yeah, I guess, but I didn't have any doubts that he was.
Yeah, I know. Like, I guess maybe in the days of mental health being a stigma, and it still is for a lot of people, but and we had to just because he's been in a crazy house for all these years, he's not a bad guy like Terry. So he's upset his doctor is dead and wants to put her back together like Humpty Dumpty. And he knows.
Oh no, you fell off that wall.
He knows his child is in danger from his brother, so he tells her to go inside and stay inside.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it just seems out of place because nothing. Todd is uninteresting in this movie. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, not until the end, I guess. But even then, he doesn't do much. And I guess the girls there, him telling her to go inside and not open her door is just there to fuck over Karen later.
I mean, Karen makes it through okay. I if I was her, I would leave the country. But other than that, and she's now a new mom. So
that's right.
That's her baby now from that one scene where she looks at the baby and the baby looks back at her.
Well, now we're at, I think, what's probably your favorite scene, the thing that you want to talk about, which is
the tiny couch.
Andrea. Well, first, Andrea is teaching Karen how to drink tequila while the boys play some video games.
They play Atari. They're having a tequila and Atari party. These grown-ass adults in 1983. Oh, it's very good.
That game looked pretty sophisticated. Whatever they were playing, the graphics looked pretty decent for 83.
I was trying to look at the controller and see what it was because it looked better than Atari, but they weren't holding ColecoVision controllers. And there were just these red square video game controllers. So I've never seen before. So I have no idea what they're supposed to be playing.
I mean, the game was like a racing game of some kind, but it looked, and I don't think they were doing any superimposing images on top of the television.
You wouldn't do these square graphics if you were trying to make up something better because it's still but it looked like a decent pole position.
Yeah, it looked pretty good for 83. I was very surprised by how decently it looked. But yes, now we get to the very big couch where loser Bill is going through all of Julie's liquor that's just set on her coffee table.
He's sitting down on this couch and his knees are up to his ears.
It's a very deep couch. This is one of those couches that you would fall in and have a hard time getting out of.
It's a foot off the floor. I think they made it themselves.
That's very likely.
This guy has zero interesting physique. He's not a big tall guy. He's not a really small guy, but he looks ridiculous on this couch. He's basically on the floor, and he looks completely out of scale with what's going on in this world.
Yeah, he's a typical sort of nerdlinger, dark hair, big glasses. And he is going through her liquor and he's like, cream de menthe, coconut liqueur. Oh, how do you do that? And he's just a super nerd. And she wants to have sex with him because she, again, wants a sugar daddy, as she tells her baby when she goes into her room in just a second. and I noticed the big giant horse doll sitting in the corner of her room.
You know, sometimes if you can't get a nice sugar daddy, you just have to settle for a giant stuffed horse father.
But while she's in there trying to get like freshened up for Bill to get real sexy for him,
with her baby in the other room,
with her baby there, he is sitting on the couch, and there is a knock at the door, and he goes over to the door and opens it, and Terry is there. And so she comes out, and she's in lingerie, and he's not there anymore. And she opens the front door, and his head is hanging from an extension cord. It's like wrapped up in an extension cord hanging in front of the door. Like, Terry, he rigged this up pretty well, I think.
Pretty fast, too, considering, like, he hasn't killed since he was a kid, and he's doing a very good job of doing things very, very thoroughly and creatively so far. And quickly, because she just changed, and it wasn't the entire time she was changing. She had already started to change when he knocked on the door, but he had time to decapitate him, take that head, and hang it sturdily from the I guess stairs above them.
Yeah, I don't know how he managed this, but he did it very quickly and very proficiently.
And then managed to position himself to sneak up on her from behind.
Yes. So here's the question that I had. So Todd, while this is happening, Todd finally gets to his apartment, and he uses like a screwdriver to pop open the back door. And I was thinking, have they lived in that same apartment for 10 years? Is that how he knows where to go? Because
he goes to his room and sees his stuff from when he was a little kid.
Because there's a giant, no, because...
Oh, he's seeing stuff Terry had that he couldn't have.
Yes, because there's a big giant Yoda head sitting on his dresser, and he wouldn't have had that in 74.
That's true, unless George Lucas stole Yoda from this family. He was making out with Makeup Mom, and he's like, "That's a cool doll you over there. I wonder what it would look like as a puppet."
That's... like I always find it very interesting whenever stuff like that happens in movies, like really low budget things that you've probably never heard of before, where there's just some random Star Wars toy in it. And you're like, well, they certainly didn't get approval for that. And that would never happen today. Like, you could never have a Star Wars figure just in the background of a shot of a movie without some sort of express written consent for Lucasfilm and Disney and all this stuff. Like, just the fact that it's there on the counter, it's like, oh, interesting. Like, it makes sense because it would be there for a kid's room, but also, why the fuck would Terry have this when he's in college?
Well, he's crazy. But I looked at that and thought, man, that doll is probably worth half of the entire budget of this movie at this point.
Absolutely.
If it was in good condition.
Yes, for sure. There would be so many people who would pay so much money for that.
So many, like not even like the Kenner toys, like this Yoda doll from like the original run of toys for Star Wars.
And it's like life size too. It was big.
Yeah. Yes. In so much that as big as Yoda is, which isn't very large.
Yes, this was actually twice the size of Yoda.
Maybe it's one of those other Yodas.
Double life size. What if by the end of like what about if like the end of the Mandalorian's run, like Yoda does grow up, we like jump into the future and we see the grown Yoda and he's like fucking massive and jacked. Like he's this big fucking like yoked diesel Yoda motherfucker.
Just like a big broad shouldered Yoda.
Yes.
6'5", shredded like lettuce.
They get The Rock to play him.
The Rock would do it, by the way.
And they just put Yoda's head on it. They just CG Yoda's head onto The Rock.
How's your Rock impression? Can you do a Rock line, but in Yoda backwards talk? Smell the rocks cooking. You should.
Smell what Yoda's cooking. It's not a very good Yoda, but
It's not, is it? The
Wow,
rock can
thanks,
pull it off.
okay.
He's so charming.
So while Todd is there, Maddie is kind of wandering around in the hallway with wine, and she just sort of collapses in the hallway, and Todd carries her to bed, and she thinks that he's Terry, and they have this weird embrace, which kind of, again, feeds into the sort of possible Oedipal stuff going on here with them. And Karen and Artie are now playing the game in the apartment, and Andrea and Greg have gone in to have sex, but they scream, and so Karen and Artie go in to check on them, and Andrea has put this weird like monster mask on.
Why did this happen?
I don't know.
Like, other than like it's something they would do in a horror movie where the asshole, like, you're supposed to know like these two deserve to die in some way because they're not going to be the final kids.
Yeah.
But it's out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's weird. So after they get pissed off, because Karen and Artie decide to leave because they're mad at Andrea and Greg, Andrea goes to take a shower, fully nude, and Terry is somehow watching her, but I wasn't clear on the geography of where he was, like if he was outside the apartment or if he was inside the apartment in a hallway. I wasn't clear what was happening there, but he is watching her take a shower.
I thought this was leading to sex, but it was leading to tennis.
Yeah, it's a tennis. She had to shower before tennis. This is when we get probably one of my favorite scenes, which is Maddie on the phone with the operator trying to call Brad in his office, which is maybe, a 5-minute walk from her apartment, and saying that the phone, it just keeps ringing, and she thinks that there's something wrong with the number, but the operator says that it's fine. And she yells at the operator and then tells her entire life story.
This also probably happens quite a bit.
Probably. It actually probably does still happen. Like, you wouldn't think about it because, like, we mostly use cell phones now, and, like, at least for, people around our age, in our age bracket. But older people probably still have a home phone, and they probably still might use the operator to get a number or to check on the status of a number. And I'm sure that those few calls that do come in, and it's actually probably more than a few, they probably have to listen to people say some bizarre stuff.
Yes. There are people who take advantage, and I mean this in the nicest way, of people who kind of have to listen to them.
Yes, that is, yeah. You get that in, like, I think
you get that at grocery stores.
That's what I was about to say. You still get that, and I get that from the checkout people sometimes.
I get that from the checkout people. I get it when I worked customer service. I got that quite a bit, which at times is very frustrating because people have absolutely horrible opinions and think that you want to hear them, and you are sympathetic to their what they believe in because you work in a similar industry. I know that one of the complaints people have in Canada for when I was younger for socialized medicine was that old people just go to the doctor to talk to the doctor, and really, that's fine because old people should be going to the doctor frequently, and they shouldn't be afraid to go to the doctor to go into debt. And you probably can tell a lot about their health if they're going in there regularly, even if it is to chat and tell you about their nephew.
My nephew says that this year won't be good for uncles. What do you think about that, doctor?
Well, it turns out so far it hasn't been good for grandma and grandpas either.
But I love when she goes through the whole thing. She tells her the story and everything, and she's like, "I'm trying to figure out what's going on with Todd and Terry," and then she stops and goes, "What number do I want? Get me my boyfriend's number." She's just so angry.
she like once again, she knows she's in a comedy.
I don't know. I think she's being serious.
You think so?
No.
Like I know I know she apparently the director almost actually did quit at one point because they were having so much trouble working with her.
Yeah. So Greg and Andrea go out and they are playing tennis, and he wants to have sex on the tennis court.
I mean, night tennis is so exciting that anyone would get hired doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think REM wrote that song, that really romantic song, "Night Tennis Deserves a Quiet Night."
If you're going to make a sexy tennis scene at night with two teens who are in his teens, two old teens who are going to eventually be naked on a diving board in like one or two scenes, how do you have the restraint not to put the female character in a tennis outfit without panties?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't bother. It's not important. So she says
they had a tennis court at the apartment set, and they were like, might as well use it.
Yeah, basically. So she says no, but she has a better idea. And Terry's been watching them this whole time. And so they go to the pool, and we cut to them naked on the diving board, which doesn't seem like it would be very comfortable.
You would almost certainly fall off.
Well, and also just like that grit on the diving board, like would just dig into your back. And I don't think that would feel very good. But I love Terry's reaction, which he walks in with his machete and goes, "Don't do that," and then cuts Greg's throat.
This is where the kills start to get really quick and less interesting.
Yeah, it's less gory at this point, but it was very funny the way he's like, "Don't do that," and then just cuts his throat open and slashes Andrea's face.
Yeah, and then you hear like an ADR going, "You're being a bad boy, Greg. You've been a bad boy." And once again, it just this one was just weird to me because like this what really hit me. Like these people were his friends who he was just hanging out with 2 scenes earlier. Like he was already in his I'm a killer mode, and he wasn't killing these guys.
Yeah, it's sort of weird. Like towards the end, I guess because they know it's the end of the movie, that he just drops the facade. But it takes him a while to get there. Like he still tries to keep up appearances as if he is a normal person and not a murderer until the end of the movie. So
in fact, like kind of mid-sentence to Karen.
Yes, actually, yes. So Artie and Karen, they're out walking along this path, and Terry kind of pops out and surprises them, and scares them. And he sends Artie off. He's like, "Go find Andrea and Greg and tell them to get inside." And so Artie jumps in his car, but Todd is there, and he gets the drop on him with a gun, and he says, "Hey, Terry's the murderer, and we gotta go get him." And so at this point, like Terry is trying to have sex with Karen now, finally.
I think he overhears her talking to Artie because she friend zones Artie pretty hard here, where she's like, he's asking about them. Are they still a couple? And she's like, "Well, you know how he is. He's been distant. You're like my best friend, Artie. Can you go ask him and ask Terry about what's going on between us? Like, can you get a status update on our relationship as my male best friend who clearly likes me?"
Oh, that's right.
I think he overhears this, so he like kind of makes out with her and says like, "Who's distant now?"
Yeah. Okay. You're right. He's finally like trying to. He doesn't want to lose her, I guess.
Or he's just fucking with her.
Maybe. That's also possible. So Artie brings Todd to the apartment, and Todd almost shoots Terry, but he kind of can't bring himself to do it and ends up running away. And so Artie and Terry go out into the woods after him, and they just Artie just stumbles upon a bag of murder weapons.
Yes, which are also like they're the murder weapons, but also kind of the stuff from Thanksgiving dinner. which once again makes it a Thanksgiving meal.
Fair.
Movie.
Okay.
And he thinks the blood is cranberry sauce.
Okay, well, I was about to bring that up because Terry then kills Artie here and says, seems like, 100 times? That's not cranberry sauce.
Like they decided to leave every take in.
I think that's not cranberry sauce is one of the taglines for this movie.
For Make Out Mommy, that's not cranberry sauce.
So Karen is off looking for Terry and Artie, and she finds Terry here, and he's got blood all over her, or all over him. And she suddenly understands like what's going on, and he goes, "I love you," and then starts swinging a machete at her. She sees him with a machete and goes, "What the fuck is that?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Todd's. I got it off him." She's like, "Okay," and she buys it 100%, right? And he's like, "Okay, we need to go do something." And they start to walk away, and then he just turns around and goes, "I love you," and starts trying to kill her. Like, she didn't suspect him for a second. Yeah. Oh, I found this guy covered in blood holding a bloody machete, but he told me that he got it from someone else. So that's good enough for me.
And then for the rest of the movie, okay, so she will go on a spree of coming across all the corpses of the rest of the cast.
Yes.
Kind of one by one.
Yeah, pretty much.
And he's literally not even like attempting to kill her at times. He's just kind of mocking her from a distance, or jumping up and down on a diving board, just being kind of at the other side of the room, like just kind of like, yeah, whatever. And like, she's like, "Why did you do this? Why did you do this?" But it's not like she's freaking out. All her best friends are horrifyingly murdered.
Yes.
Like just torn apart, shredded, right? By her boyfriend, who was normal to her 5 seconds ago, right? And now she knows he's not only trying to kill her, he's killed everyone they both cared about, right? And her reaction the rest of the movie is kind of a, "Terry." Like she literally at one point walks up and just shoves him like he said a bad pun. Like she's never like in mortal fear, terror, screaming. She's just kind of like, "You're such a jerk. Why'd you do it? Leave me alone." So she's
trying to get into somewhere for safety. She goes to the apartment, but the little girl that Todd saw earlier won't let her in. So she goes into Julie's house and she finds the baby and tries to...
Why was this... There's no need for this baby subplot.
No, it's totally unnecessary. But she finds the baby. She tries to comfort it. And she's scared because she sees Todd and Terry. So she's afraid that both are trying to hurt her. And she hides, but Terry finds her. He comes into the apartment with the machete. And she just grabs the phone and just hits him in the balls with it.
It's pretty funny. And he's like, "Oh, that hurt."
Yeah,
Karen.
he's like, "Oh, that hurt." And
she's like, "Jerk." And like,
and then she grabs the baby and runs off with it. And so she's got this baby now that is definitely not a baby in some of the scenes where she's running with it.
She's basically like Misty and Pokemon walking around that baby Pokemon for the rest of the movie.
And so we cut back to Maddie, and she's cleaning out the refrigerator, which I don't know why she's doing this because there's leftovers in there still, unless she's eaten them all. But like she goes to throw something away. And first thing that caught my attention was, one, there's no fucking bag in this garbage can.
That is unsanitary, and it's going to lead to having a very smelly garbage can.
It's
very
gross.
quickly.
You cannot throw food into just the empty trash can because you'd never get it clean.
You'd have to buy a new trash can every 2 weeks.
But she throws out something, but then notices there's something else in the garbage can already. It's Terry's bloody shirt from when he killed Brad earlier in the movie.
The only time he got blood on his outfit, and he cut somebody's head off.
Well, it's bizarre because she pulls this thing up and like, did he not think that she would see it?
He's not really doing a lot to hide it most of the time that he's killing everybody.
Anywhere else. Put it anywhere else. You have a whole big thing of woods in the back half of your apartment complex. Like, put it out there, bury it underground.
You have an apartment complex. You have an apartment garbage can. That's a fact.
Yes.
I still go back to my first apartments just to toss shit in that garbage can.
Because fuck those guys.
Fuck those guys.
So
fuck
Maddie,
all rental places. I want to use their garbage cans.
So Maddie finally thinks, well, I need to just go to Brad's office because it's literally a 5-minute walk away and find out what's going on. And she finds his dead body and freaks out and kind of gives him a nudge. And this is when his body falls forward and his head just sort of falls open, like it splits open and his brain is green.
His brain is green. I do like that Brad not only cut off his hand, but then he carved him up like a Thanksgiving turkey.
That's right. Oh, he did give him some shit earlier when he was cutting the turkey at dinner.
Yeah. And so he turns out that like he had green brains and ham inside and he then put him back together, posed him like he's sitting over the table like with a mild headache from newspaper print.
He just got his head in his hand like, oh man, what a day.
What a day. Man, the stock market today, my friend. The bull and or bear market has really gotten to me today. Like he sat and did all this posing.
He's got his head in his hand thinking, what if being a landlord does mean I'm sort of a leech and a terrible person?
Like, maybe I shouldn't be upset that my former tenants keep coming back and throwing their shit in my giant garbage can.
So Karen makes it to the pool house, and she hides out there, and Terry kind of creeps up on her, and he finds her eventually, and they kind of fight a little bit, and she escapes back into the pool area. I think she finds Andrea and Greg's bodies in like the sauna or something. And finally, we have Todd there and Terry there. They're sort of facing off. Todd is a guy in a wig. It's because it's not, they don't do any sort of optical tricks here where they're both on screen at the same time. Like, it's clearly a dude in a bad wig, which is weird because when we see Todd in frame and the back of Terry, that wig is better. So why did they not just use the same fucking wig?
I don't know. It's why. Hey, why do they put a baby in a cupboard?
Oh, that's right. Yes. So Karen puts the baby under the sink.
I can't stress that sounds bad, but in function and reality, it's the craziest thing that happens in this movie. And that guy has a green brain inside. He just shoves this baby, which is just a pile of pink blankets at this point, and she just she opens the thing and with one hand just tosses a baby in there. Like, she doesn't gently put it in there or tuck it down or tap it down and say, okay, baby, you'll be fine. She just basically throws a baby under the sink and walks off.
So,
like, if she dies, this baby is dead.
Yes, because no one will know that it's there. So Todd and Terry, they fight and they fall into the swimming pool.
Yes, the classic twin pool fight.
And they get out, and Maddie has shown up now, and she has a gun. She has Brad's gun, and she sees Terry on the other side of the pool, and she shoots him, and he falls into the pool. His blood is all over the place in the pool.
His face basically explodes.
Yeah, she kills him. He's dead, and she goes to Todd. And she's crying, and she's like, we'll never be separated again. You're the bestest of the best, the bestest of the best. And then she calls him Terry. And it's like, oh, no. She thinks that she killed Todd, and she doesn't understand that it's not Terry.
So he says, I'm Todd. Nancy goes to get the baby from under the sink.
Not Nancy, Karen.
Karen. Who cares?
Who's Nancy?
At some point in the middle of my notes, I changed Karen's name to Nancy, and it makes perfect sense to me. So Nancy, who is Karen's new name because she needs an entirely new life.
Yeah,
now.
she has to go into witness protection after all this.
She just needs to leave the country. She needs to be Nancy in Canada after this. But
she named the baby
Finland.
Karen.
She goes and collects the baby from under the sink, and she looks at the baby, and the baby looks like her. And it's the movie dialogue of saying, "This is her baby now." That's not how it works. But mom is freaking out because she has killed Terry, and she's going, "Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!" And then Todd goes and Blair Witches against the fucking wall.
Yeah, he stands in the corner and he's like, "I'm Todd, I'm Todd, I'm Todd." And then and then Maddie starts going, "I'm Todd, I'm Todd, I'm Todd." And then puts the gun to her head and kills herself. And it was literally shocking.
Because I know like she's going crazy as the movie goes on, but like literally at the start of the movie, she's just a young single mom who makes a bad choice about making out with too many guys, and her son like overreacts and does an awful thing, right? But like, it's not because she was crazy.
No, it was the kid who had something wrong and he, snapped and killed someone. Like, but it's weird because like it's weird that she has this weird sort of disassociation of it, like, because she was clearly going to see Todd at the institution and was like taking him food and like seemed to care about him. So
now she hates him.
Well, it's like it's weird because she thought that she had killed the quote crazy one and that she'd have the good boy back and things would be fine.
Maybe Todd should grab the gun and throw it away from her and said, "By the way, Mom, Terry killed everyone."
Well, obviously,
if you walk around this building, everyone's dead because of him.
And I think maybe it's like that Terry or that Todd also has kind of he has been catatonic for roughly a decade. So it makes sense that he might not be able to, properly communicate with her. And I mean,
I would have thought it'd be a really good tight circle at the end of the movie. She ended up in a psych ward.
Oh, that could have been something like, or that she blamed Karen for the murder.
Yeah. Or Nancy or the baby. But instead she kills herself while Todd basically bangs his forehead against the wall, and we see blood going through the pool water, and the movie ends.
Yeah, sirens are approaching. Finally, somebody called the police, and
that little kid finally found its cat, and the cat was dead too.
Oh, and so yeah, the sirens approach, and the movie ends, and it has a pretty kick-ass closing credits theme song. Very good. It's very good music throughout this entire movie.
Good synth, and you need that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that this will be one that I will bring to folks who've never seen it on Thanksgiving. Like if I'm ever around people who have not seen this movie and I'm with them on Thanksgiving, this will probably, if they're into like cheesy 80s horror, like this will be a movie that I share with people regularly.
I mean, yeah, the kills are way over the top when they decide to go over the top with them. The storyline is borderline ridiculous. They toss a baby under a sink. It just moves at such a click once it starts going. There's night tennis. There's diving board sex. There's they give some agency to the characters, and then that doesn't matter at all. And here's this character who kills all his he has an apartment building where we know from the little girl being there were other people he doesn't know. He leaves them alone. He kills all his friends.
Yeah, he kills people he knows. And I would have been interested to see because I was like, there aren't that many people seemingly here, because we never see that little girl's parents or anything. So it's unclear what where they are. And maybe there are people who left and went somewhere else for the holidays or whatever.
I bet I hope rent went down the next month because that place is haunted now.
It doesn't go down. They just fucking comp you for December.
Oh, that's right. They need to pay twice. And sometimes they'll ask you to pay 2 months in advance and offer you the chance to win a coupon if you pay 2 months early for your rent.
There is before we wrap it up, there's an interesting thing here that says the film's working title was actually Complex.
That's actually really clever.
Yes. It's actually a better, more fitting title than
Blood Feast,
than Blood Rage, or Slasher, because Slasher is very generic.
Slasher's incredibly generic.
Nightmare at Shadow Woods would have worked because that's where they are, but Complex works too pretty well. And then
I mean, like he has a mother complex.
Yes.
And he lives in a complex.
Yes, I think that's actually the better title, but I don't think you would have known that it's a horror movie at that point.
I mean, if you had to put Nightmare in something, or literally call it Slasher. It's like, here's my movie. It's called Drama.
They could have just called it Nightmare Complex.
That actually works really well too. That's maybe the name is a little too complex.
There should be some Thanksgiving stuff worked in there, though, I think.
Like Blood Feast.
Yes, like Blood Feast, the movie that we did not talk about.
True. We didn't, and we'll never get around to it now because this is the last bonus episode on Patreon.
No, we won't. It's a as I mentioned earlier, it's a Herschel Gordon Lewis movie from 1963, and honestly, I saw it. It's not very good. It was made for like $24,000, which was probably a lot of money in 1963, but it's so boring.
Let me get the calculator out.
Yes, please tell me. Tell me what that was from 1963 to 2020.
Wait, how much money did you say again?
$24,500.
So that $500 is going to make a big difference. And that will be, you can't put commas into this calculator. It won't work. It is. How much do you think it is?
100,000.
Tried over doubling that.
Oh, 200,000.
$208,480.
Wow, inflation is a fucking nightmare.
Yet our wages never go up.
And the movie Blood Feast made $4 million. So that guy had a pretty nice return.
Let me get the calculator out and put in $4 million. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. $34 million.
Wow. Holy shit.
Holy shit.
I mean, it's not probably as bad as I'm making it out to be, but I saw it once. It's 67
movie ever.
It's 67 minutes long, and I remember being bored out of my mind when I saw it a couple of years ago.
Gotta say, I love this movie. It's only the longer cut is 82 minutes.
Yes.
Perfect.
I appreciate when a good, like, because like you said, it's a good tight thing where once the killing starts, it just keeps going, and it never really has a moment of lag, which is nice.
It has a little bit of setup, which you need. I still didn't know the characters' names.
No.
But then it just starts the killing, and it has all the pieces which are fodder on the board, and then it just knocks them all down, and that's what it has to be. I hate when movies like this had their runtime with resets, with people stopping and having a good time in the middle of being chased to death. People who who are able to shrug off major trauma and pretend things are normal for a while, or escape and go back. And I know they're going back because of the heroes or someone, like, just for once, a character in one movie should escape and just fucking escape in the middle of the movie. Like, some characters are still there, but other characters, like, I got in the car and I'm really far from the killer now, and I will never be close to it again.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's going to do it for this episode on Blood Rage from 1987/1983. And I hope that all of you Patreon supporters out there have a nice holiday weekend if you are celebrating, or even if you're not. Hopefully you enjoy a couple days off work. If you get them, I hope that you do. Things are crazy this year, so hopefully you can take this time and really just just sit with yourself and not have to think about things. And hopefully you did it while listening to this episode. Maybe you're having leftovers right now while you're listening.
Sitting on the floor in front of the fridge.
Absolutely. Please put a trash bag in your garbage can.
Kitchen liners are so important. I cannot stress. We need someone like Ted Raimi just passing them out in bathrooms. Like, you got to have one of these. I have all these trash condoms right here. Please put them in your cans.
Absolutely. And I think that this is going to be the last thing that you hear on this Patreon feed. So thanks very much for those of you who have supported us over the couple years that we've been doing this. We appreciate your support and your patronage. We wouldn't have done it as long as we did without you. And until we hear from you again, hopefully over on the main predictocast feed, I've been Josh.
I've been Skinner.
And happy Thanksgiving.
Well, now I'm Nancy.